Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Okay, good afternoon, my students. Okay, it's been 3 weeks I've not had it in class. It was the holidays and I was busy. Okay, so I hope that everyone is all ready and to start the new year of 2023 with a lot of motivation. Okay, because your target will be, your next year's SPM. All right. Okay. So we have very important chapters that we haven't finished yet, actually. Okay, which is chapter 13, 14, and 15. I think most of the schools, okay, in entire country are around at maybe chapter 12 and chapter 13. Okay, so today I'm going to explain homeostasis, which is chapter 13, 13.1. All right, okay, so let me see who is with me. I think Kenneth is with me. Okay, hello Kenneth, and nice to have you here again. Okay, Adriana Nuha. Okay, good evening everyone. Okay, good evening Adriana. Okay, nice to have you here. Okay, so let's start by presenting my screen. I hope everyone can see this. Okay, we will not waste any further time. So chapter 13 is on homeostasis and the human urinary system. Okay, so we'll break it up to 2 lessons. Today's lesson is to explain the concept of homeostasis. Okay, now, so this homeostasis actually is not anything new because you have done it before. You have seen this topic in Form 1, okay, chapter 3, homeostasis. So you do understand actually the concept of homeostasis. Okay, so I just want to, of course, in Form 4, the things will be a little more complicated, right, and more details. So, and you need to explain how the corrective mechanisms, what are the corrective mechanisms when a condition, okay, changes. All right, for example, temperature rises. How is your body going to handle the temperature change? Okay, so you must be prepared to write an essay. So the essay may not be entire essay. So it could be maybe about 6 to 8 marks. Okay, if you do not know what to write, of course, you will lose a lot of marks over there. Okay, so let's start, yeah? Okay, now homeostasis. So homeostasis is actually a regulatory process that your body carries out. Okay, so this word homeo, right? Homeo is actually same. So you're trying to maintain a certain condition in your body, to maintain it at the perfect condition so that your entire body can function well and function at its best. So here's a diagram here which actually summarizes the entire concept of homeostasis. So if you see there's an imbalance here, all right? So if your body experiences any imbalance in terms of any factor, all right, there's something changes. So the normal condition here, this is the equilibrium. That means this is what it should be, all right? And then if something happens that causes your temperature to rise or your temperature to drop, so what happens is there is what we have receptors in your body that can sense that something is different, something that should not happen, right? Your temperature has risen or your temperature has dropped. And then your receptor will relay message to the control center. So your control center is mostly in your medulla oblongata, which is one part of your brain. And your brain or your medulla oblongata will initiate messages to be sent to the effector. Effector are certain organs in your body. It can be glands, it can be organs that are going to do something to correct that condition. Okay, so your temperature has risen, let's say, for example. So you would like to do something to bring down the temperature. Okay, and when that happens, all right, hopefully the condition will go back to normal. Your temperature will drop. Okay, your internal temperature will drop, and now it's back to the correct temperature. So you have actually brought the variation. We call it the what do you call the change. Okay, back to normal. Okay, you have already counted it. Okay, now let's look at homeostasis. All right, homeostasis. What is the meaning, definition of homeostasis? So homeostasis is a process. Okay, so It's not something that you can see. It is a process. It is the regulation. Regulation means control. Controlling what? What does your body want to control? Okay, it regulates physical and chemical factors. So when you want to write a definition, you need to have all these keywords. It's a regulation of physical and chemical factors. Okay, so later we'll see what are the physical and chemical factors in your body, and they are actually in the entire internal environment. It is not outside your body. It is not the temperature outside your body, okay? The temperature in the room, for example, or the temperature outside your house when it's very hot. So this is, if I'm talking about temperature, it is your internal, your body temperature. So the conditions inside your body, okay? These are called the internal environment, including your interstitial fluid, the conditions in the interstitial fluid, the fluid that surrounds your cells, that bathes the cells, okay? And also the blood plasma, okay? All these are the internal environment in your body, okay? So why do we need to do that? Why does your body want to regulate the factors so that they will remain in the normal range, and so your cells can continue to function at its best? So we call it optimally. Optimally means the best. So your cells, they work within a certain range. So if the range is, if the condition is out of range, too hot or too cold, okay, your cell is not going to function. Okay, mainly because of the enzymes in your body. They will start to denature if it's too high. Okay, so here we have the definition of homeostasis, the regulation of physical and chemical factors. You can see I've already highlighted the important words, the keywords that you must put in your definition of what? Of the internal environment, so that your cells can function optimally. Okay, right, so that is the definition. Now, let's look at homeostasis, all right? Now, what are the physical factors? So we talk about physical factors. Okay, these are all internal. So we're not talking about temperature outside. So we're talking about the internal temperature, the temperature of your blood, okay, the temperature of the interstitial fluid inside your body. Okay, osmotic blood pressure. The pressure, osmotic blood pressure is referring to the blood, okay? How much of albumin is in your blood that determines the osmotic pressure. So it has to be within a certain range, okay? It cannot be too high osmotic blood pressure, neither can it be too low. Okay, next one, blood pressure, okay? How much pressure is your heart exerting, the pressure onto the blood when it pumps, when your heart pumps, okay? How strong is your blood, the pressure in your blood? So that cannot be too high, all right? Otherwise, your blood vessels, the fine blood vessels can burst. Okay, these are physical factors. For the chemical factors, they are referring to, as you know, chemistry, right? The word chemical, that means referring to substances that are soluble, they are in the blood. Example, pH value. pH value is dependent on the acidic, okay, substances that are acidic. So you have hydrogen ions. So that will increase, if there's a high concentration of hydrogen ions, that will increase the acidity of your blood. All right. Okay. So there's a question here. Can make a biology SPM 2023 analysis video? Okay, I will be coming later, right, soon to first thing, right? I'll be making a video on the experiment. Okay, because the students, the Form 5 students, are going to have the experiment at the end of January. So very soon I'll be having that class first, and then after the Amali video, then I'm going to explain what you should look out for your video. I mean for your Amali. Then only after that you have the analysis and also the technique in Jawab lah. All right, the answering techniques and so on. Just like what I did last year. So if you go to the channel, I do have some videos which I made last year, and you are in hope and have a look at the videos I made last year to help the Form 5 students last year. Okay, all right, let me continue with the chemical factors. Okay, welcome. Academia, is it? Academia, right, okay. So concentration of minerals, of course, okay, that is chemical, right? Minerals, they are present in the blood. And then concentration of blood sugar, okay, glucose. How much sugar is dissolved in your blood? So that contributes to the chemical factors. Okay, so these are the physical and these are the chemical factors. So objective questions, they can ask you, which of the following is physical factor? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have things like 1 and 3, 2 and 4. Okay, so you have to remember the physical factors and the chemical factors. So if you do come across contrasting information with your reference book and your textbook, please refer to your textbook. Okay, your textbook should be the first reference that you should go to, right? Because it has been, diperlakukan, okay, by the government. So you should rely on the information if it does not agree with your reference book. So you go and follow the textbook. Okay, so any deviation means changes, menyimpang, penyimpangan, okay, in the end. Any deviation or changes from the normal range will trigger, it will start a mechanism that will bring it back to normal. So that mechanism is known as a negative feedback. Okay, negative feedback, not positive. All right, so we call it negative feedback because negative feedback actually means when you have a value that increases from the normal range, the feedback from the value that increases will allow the changes to bring it back to normal. That means it will decrease the value. Okay, the mechanism will start and it will bring down the value back to normal. Okay, the principle of negative feedback is a factor that when a factor exceeds the normal range, it will be brought down to the normal range. Something that goes up too high, okay, negative feedback, all right, will bring it back to normal. And reversely, if you have a factor that falls below the normal range, something below normal, for example, temperature, right? You have fallen into an icy lake. So your temperature, your core temperature is below 37, all right? So your body will try to do something to bring back the temperature, your body temperature to 37, okay? To increase it back to the normal range. Okay, so this is the basic principle of negative feedback. All right, okay, I think this is easy to understand because you've done it in Form 1 before. Okay, in the body, various organ systems function and they interact with each other to maintain an optimal internal environment. So in our body, we have many systems that will help to carry out this regulation process that we call homeostasis. When something happens, you got to do something to bring it back to normal. So it doesn't rely on one system. So there are a few systems in your body that does that. Okay, so we will see. Basically, there are 4, okay, factors that we need to regulate. This is in your syllabus. You need to know how to write or how to explain how to increase the body temperature if it drops, how to reduce the body temperature when it increases. Okay, so for body temperature, it involves a few systems that is going to bring down your temperature or increase your temperature. Example, okay, under body temperature, you have integumentary system. This is the system that involves the skin, okay, and the membranes and so on, and also including your glands, sweat glands. Okay, next you have nervous system. Okay, nervous system is what you have learned in chapter 12. The nervous system that has these impulses sent through these axons and dendrons and so on, neurons. Then there is the circulatory system, involves your heart and the blood vessels. Okay, all these will work together to either increase your body temperature or decrease your body temperature. Another one is your muscular system. This is when you are too cold, that's why your muscular system, your muscles will start to contract and relax rhythmically, right? And that you will shiver. That makes you shiver. When you shiver, you produce heat. Actually. Okay, next, another one, endocrine system. Okay, so all these work together to control your body temperature. Okay, another factor that you need to know how to explain, okay, the changes, right? Blood pressure, right? The systems that are related, okay, that involve in regulating blood pressure is circulatory system. That means your heart and your blood vessels, and also the nervous system. Okay, next one. Okay, partial pressure of carbon dioxide in the blood. Okay, that means how much of carbon dioxide is in your blood. How acidic is your blood. If you have too much carbon dioxide, it will be very acidic. Okay, because you may have been doing exercise, vigorous exercise, you will be producing a lot of carbon dioxide because of the process of respiration. So your pH value of your blood will decrease because of acidity from the carbon dioxide. When carbon dioxide dissolves in water, you get carbonic acid, okay, and that is acidic. Okay, so when you have too much of carbon dioxide in the blood, what are the systems that helps to control it, to bring it back to normal? You have respiratory system. So you will start to breathe, okay, harder and faster, so that you want to expel the carbon dioxide from your blood. Okay, you have circulatory system as well, okay, because your blood, your carbon dioxide is in your blood, so it travels through your blood. Nervous system as well. Okay, next, blood sugar levels. If your blood sugar level increase or decrease, how do you control it? What's the system that controls it? So endocrine system, because that produces, it includes the involves the function of glucagon and insulin that converts, the sugar, glucose to glycogen and so on, and reversely. Then you also have circulatory system, because this involves the blood, okay, the blood, and then digestive system, okay, the process of breaking down the food, the starch to get glucose and so on. Okay, so you need to remember, for example, objective question in body regulation, okay, body temperature regulation, okay, which of the system is not involved? Then you need to know A, B, C, D, and D. So this is one highly likely question that can be asked in the exams. Okay, let's go on to looking at the negative feedback mechanism in detail. So a negative feedback is a self-regulatory system. So self-regulatory system, that means it will trigger it, the trigger will start it, right? And then when it achieves a certain, when it comes back to normal, when the condition is back to normal, it will stop. Okay, it will reverse whatever that is deviated. Okay, so it will come back to normal, and then after that it will stop. The corrective mechanism will stop. Okay, so this process produces the output of a system in order to stabilize or to re-establish that internal equilibrium. Okay, the internal factors to bring it back to normal. Okay, so it will, the function of this is to reverse the change so that it goes back to normal. So you see, always have this increase. Okay, when something increases, then of course the control center is where all this information is fed to, and the control center will start this corrective mechanism. Maybe your body will start to shiver, all right, and then your blood vessels will start to vessel constrict, and then that will bring back your increase your body temperature. So when it releases, when it decreases, when your temperature decreases, then you will come back to the normal range. Okay, so if it's too hot, you will start to sweat. One of the examples. And then when temperature decreases, okay, you're too cold, internal temperature drops to below 37. So that will be detected by the control center, right? And then control center will send message to the corrective mechanism, okay, to start perhaps shivering, so that you will produce more heat. And then your body temperature rises, it goes back to 37, okay, and then all these corrective mechanism will stop. Okay, so you have come back to the normal temperature range. Okay, so what we need to do is at each one of the four factors, body temperature, blood sugar level, okay, blood pressure, and concentration of carbon dioxide, you must be prepared to answer the questions. Okay, first let's look at regulating body temperature. All right, so the importance, why do we need to regulate body temperature? So that the metabolic processes, okay, in the cell, they are catalyzed by enzymes, they can occur optimally, because enzymes are very sensitive to temperature. So temperature that are too high, it will denature the enzymes. The enzymes do not work anymore. Okay, and reversely, when you have temperature that is too cold or too low, right? You don't say denature the enzyme, or denature only happens when temperature is high. But when temperature is low, it slows down the metabolic activities of the cell. So the enzyme is not active. Okay, so you don't say slow temperature denatures the enzyme, no such thing. All right, it only denatures when it's high temperature. So your cells will not be able to carry out the function that it's supposed to do, because the enzymes do not work if it's too cold. All right, okay, so you need to fix the body temperature. You need to regulate it. Okay, let's see how it works. Now, changes in the body temperature, they are detected. First of all, you must look at what detects the change. You must have a sensor. Okay, the sensor You have a special name for that. Okay, for heat, you have heat sensors. So these heat sensors are called thermoreceptors. And where are the thermoreceptors? There are some in the skin. All right, you can feel the external body temperature, external temperature, and the more important one is the hypothalamus. There is a the thermoreceptor in the hypothalamus. Okay, so when the temperature increases, all right, first of all, you need to talk about what detects the change. So what detects the change is the thermoreceptor in the hypothalamus and also the skin. All right, now what's going to happen after that? The hypothalamus is the control center. So the control center receives the information that now my blood temperature is too high. Okay, it's too hot. That it can sense that. So now the hypothalamus will produce impulse, okay, and give the message to the receptors to start and do something to bring down your body temperature. Okay, let's look at what are the methods. Physical methods, number one. All right. Firstly, the erector muscles on your skin. I mean, these are the ones that control the whether your hair stands up or whether your hair is flat on your skin. All right, they will not contract. They are less stimulated. So I underline the word less because it's important for you to write that word. Okay, because that makes a difference whether it's more or less. Okay, if you do not write less, then the idea is not there. You have to say less stimulated. That means they do not contract, and as a result, the hair will not move or will not be pulled upwards, so they will stay low on the skin. And when it stays low on the skin, there will be a thin layer of air that is trapped. You will not be trapping a thick layer of air, so there will be less air trapped. And you know, air is a very good insulator of heat. So now you want to release the heat because your body is too hot. Okay, so you want to release the heat, so you do not want to trap the air layer there. Okay, so now more heat can be released. So it's important for you to write all these words. More, less, and all that. Okay, I stress you have to write, because if you do not write, you may not get your marks. Okay, in the scheme of marking. So you say more heat can be released. If you're not sure whether to write or not to write, just write it anyway. Because if you write more, it will not probably bring you any harm. But if you write less, your word is not there, then you are in danger. All right, you do not get your marks. So if you write more, whatever's not needed, we won't look at it. All right, we don't need to. It does not affect your answer. Okay, so next. Now, what about number two? Besides your hair on your skin not standing up, right? You also need to release more heat, right? So arterioles in the skin, that means all the fine arteries, the finer arteries, the blood capillary that is smaller than the arteries are called arterioles. They will dilate. So they undergo a process called vasodilation. Okay, so that means the diameter of your blood vessel will increase, and that allows the blood, more blood. So can you see this word here? More blood will flow to the skin surface. So your blood vessels are nearer to your blood body, we call it the skin. And that's why when you are hot, you find there's a pinkish glow to your skin, isn't it? When you do your Sega, when you do your running, okay, for your UDTL, your test for your PJK, then you find that after you run, everybody has a very rosy complexion. Everybody all pink color, because the blood vessels vasodilation occurs, and the blood vessels are flowing nearer to the skin, so it looks a bit, that glow there. You can see it's all red. All right, so this is to allow more heat to be lost to the environment, because it's nearer to the skin now. It's a bit nearer, so the heat can be easily lost. So again, use all these words. More heat is lost, because if you do not have this, you still have heat loss. It's just that it's less. So you have to say more. Okay, so you have to remember. Otherwise, you are writing, you think you got it correct, but when you get your marks, oh, I did not get what I'm supposed to get, because these are the important things that you've forgotten to write. Okay, next, number 3. Besides the 1 and 2, you also have other physical methods of releasing the heat. Number 3, your skeletal muscles will contract and relax less. Because Contracting and relaxing your muscles, right? All this will produce heat. So now you do not want to produce so much heat because you're already hot, right? So your body will not shiver. That's why when you are hot, your body will not shiver. But on the reverse, when you are cold, your body will shiver. Okay, because shivering produces heat. Okay, number 4. Okay, physical method as well. So your sweat glands will be stimulated, you'll be triggered. So your hypothalamus will send messages to the sweat glands in your body, and you will start to produce water. Water will be released from the skin, the pores, the sweat, call it the sweat pores. Okay, and that, how does it help to cool down your body? Because when there's water on your skin, this water will try to evaporate, and in order to evaporate, you will absorb heat from your skin. Because as we learn in physics, right, water, liquid form, converts into gaseous state, liquid state to gaseous state. It has to absorb heat, okay, before it can be converted into gaseous form. So the heat comes from where? How does the water convert into a gaseous state? It has to absorb heat. And where is it getting heat from? Because the water is touching your skin, it's taking away the heat from your body in order for the water to evaporate. Okay, so evaporation actually helps you to lose heat, right? So this will cool down the skin. Your heat will be lost, will be absorbed by the water in order for its process to evaporate. Okay, so that's number 4. Now, through chemical methods, okay? You don't need to really specify what's physical, what's chemical here, but you need to know how to explain what happens. Number 5 now. So you have the adrenal gland, okay, which is on top of your kidneys. The adrenal glands are less stimulated. That means your body will not produce so much of this hormone called adrenaline. Less adrenaline is secreted. So you see this keyword here, you have to say less, okay, because it makes a difference to your answer. So less adrenaline is secreted because your adrenaline, if there is more adrenaline, it will increase the metabolic rate. Your body will even produce more heat when your metabolic rate increases. So when you have less adrenaline, your metabolic rate will decrease. Okay, when that happens, all right, you will have less heat produced by your body. Okay, lastly, one more. Okay, there is a gland, okay, which you have learned in the previous chapter, chapter 12, which is the thyroid gland, which is found at the trachea here. So the thyroid gland is not stimulated. Not stimulated to do what? To release thyroxine. So there will be less thyroxine hormone from the thyroid gland. Okay, how does it help? Okay, because thyroxine increases the metabolic rate, just like adrenaline. So now if your metabolic rate increases, your respiration increases, you will produce even more heat. So now you do not want so much heat, so you do not want to increase the metabolic rate. The metabolic rate is reversely, it will decrease because you have less thyroxine. Okay, and as such, less heat will be generated. All right, okay, so that is what you should write when the question asks you, explain what happens when temperature rises. What is the corrective mechanisms of the body? Okay, now then the opposite, when temperature decreases. Okay, you just write the opposite. It's very easy. You just remember one set. Increases is this, and when it decreases is the opposite. Okay, so I'll go a little bit faster here. It's the same thing. Your hypothalamus will detect the drop in temperature. There's also the thermoreceptors in the skin and hypothalamus. Okay, so physical methods is the opposite now. Just now your erector muscles do not contract. Now it is stimulated to contract. Okay, so the erector muscles here will contract, pulling the hair. So your hair will stand up straight. It will be erect. Okay, stands up straight. And as a result, you have a thicker layer of air that is trapped at your skin level, between the hairs on your skin, and that acts as an insulator against heat loss. So your heat is kept in your body. It will not be released so easily into the environment. Okay, so you are able to keep your body temperature, make it warmer lah. That means you increase the body temperature. Okay, so less heat will be released. Okay, next. Then you have the second one, which is just the opposite. Just now we said the arterioles will undergo dilation, or we call it vasodilation, which makes the skin, the blood vessel very near to the surface. All right, now you have the opposite. You have vasoconstriction, the arterioles will constrict, and your blood vessels are a bit deeper under your skin, so you do not look very rosy. On the other hand, you will look very bluish, okay, pale and blue when you're cold. Okay, homeostasis. Oh, Kenneth, good question. When someone is having fever, yes. In fact, when you're having fever, your body is actually trying to lose heat. You notice that when you're having fever, right? Your body actually will produce sweat. Okay, trying to release the heat. It does happen. Having fever, having fever is actually your body temperature rises, so your body is actually undergoing or carrying out your these corrective mechanisms. Okay, it's just that the underlying problem, it's your body's having fever because you have an infection. Okay, if you do not remove the infection, your fever will still be there. Your body is trying to get rid of your trying to release the temperature, but it will not be enough because your source of the fever is not dealt with. You did not stop the infection. So if you have something to stop the infection, then of course your this fever will drop, and then it will sort of like, you call it, it will not have any more fever lah. When you have a fever, actually your body is trying to release heat. It is working. Your homeostasis is working. Okay. Now, so we can come back to this. So less blood will flow to the skin now. So you will not look very rosy. You see all bluish and whitish, very fair and very pale. I mean, so less heat is lost to the external environment through radiation. So that's why you can conserve your heat. Okay, when you are cold. All right, number three. Number three is opposite from what we did just now. This is your skeletal muscles contraction. So when you are cold, your skeletal muscles will be triggered to contract and relax in rapid succession. That means quickly. So contract, relax, and that makes you shiver. It causes your body to shiver. And how does shivering help? Okay, shivering actually produces heat or generates heat. So it will warm up your body slightly. Okay, the action of contracting and relaxing rhythmically in succession. Okay, and that's going to raise your body temperature. All right. Okay, so let's carry on. Now, next one. Number 4. All right, what's number 4 about? Your sweat glands. Just now you were hot, so your sweat glands were stimulated to produce sweat. Now you are cold. You should not be releasing more heat. You do not want to evaporate your water, I mean the sweat. So you do not want to produce sweat. Sweat glands are not stimulated to produce sweat, so sweating does not occur. Okay, I said no sweat. Okay, no sweat means no worries. All right, everything is under control. Okay, so next, number 5. Through chemical methods. So number 5 here is just the reverse of adrenal. Just like adrenal gland, less stimulated. Now you would like to produce more heat. Okay, this is the medulla. Medulla is the inner layer of your gland. All right, this is adrenal gland. So the adrenal glands are stimulated to produce what? More adrenaline. So here, write the word more. Okay, more makes a difference to your answer. More adrenaline is produced. So when you have more adrenaline is produced, these are the function of the adrenaline. The adrenaline will help to also allow more glucose. Glycogen is converted to glucose. Glycogen is storage. So you want to convert it to glucose so that the glucose can be used by your body cells to produce to carry out respiration, to produce heat. So when you have more respiration, you will have more heat. Okay, so metabolic rate increases, and then more heat is generated. More heat is generated, so you will warm up your body. Okay, so body temperature rises. So when you write, you have to go in sequence, and it's actually logical. Okay, what happens first, then it carries it will produce number 2. Number 2 will cause number 3. Number 3 will cause number 4. So you write in a very systematic way. The marker or the examiner can follow your thoughts easily. Okay, don't be haphazard. simply talk about number 1 and then go to number 5 and then number 2, number 4 and all that. It doesn't have any logic. Okay, so you have to write it like this. Easier for the examiner to find your points also. Okay, and one more, number 6, when you talk about body regulation, body temperature regulation, the thyroid gland, all right? So this one, thyroid gland, just now, you do not want to produce so much heat, so your thyroid gland is less stimulated. So now this is stimulated more to produce more thyroxine. Okay, thyroxine function is to increase the metabolic rate, so the respiration rate also increases, more heat will be generated. Again, look at the word here, more. Okay, right, more. So body temperature rises. All right. Okay, yeah. Next, let's look at. We already finished with the first one. Now we got 3 more to handle. What about blood sugar levels? Okay, blood sugar levels. Your blood sugar level will rise. Okay, when you have taken a full meal and after that your starch in your food has been converted into glucose. So your pancreas is the organ that regulates your blood sugar glucose level because they produce 2 important hormones, which is insulin and glucagon. All right. Okay, so this is your pancreas. Your pancreas is found behind the stomach here. So this I enlarge it to let you see. The normal range of blood sugar is about 75 to 110 milligrams per 100 ml of blood. That means if you've got 100 ml of blood, okay, in your tube, test tube, whatever, you will have around 75 to 110 milligrams of sugar, okay, inside that. It's a normal range, but roughly we'll say 90 lah, okay. We take the middle range, about 90 milligrams per 100 ml. That's the normal one, if you do not have diabetes, all right. So what are the cells that produces these 2 important hormones? They are called Langerhans cells, okay. Langerhans cells, actually there are 2, there's alpha and beta. If you cannot remember, it's not important, all right. You do not need to say, okay, alpha, Langerhans cells produces insulin, beta produces insulin, and then alpha produces glucagon. You don't remember, it's all right, okay. So these are the cells in your pancreas that produces these 2 important hormones that is going to make the conversion, okay, of the glucose into glycogen and reversely, and vice versa. Okay, next, let's see the control here. More stimulated, the thyroid should be more stimulated. Yeah, should be more stimulated. If you're not, I said not sure to write stimulated or not stimulated or just more stimulated, just put in more. Okay, the reverse would be less stimulated. So put in more stimulated to be more correct. I think I missed out that word just now in my slide. Okay, blood sugar levels. So your beta cells in the Langerhans cells, in the pancreatic Langerhans will be stimulated to secrete insulin more. So I see I add in the word more. Secrete more insulin. Okay, more insulin when your sugar level rises after a full meal, after your digestion process has broken down this starch into glucose. Immediately there will be a rush of glucose in your blood. Okay, then what is the function of insulin? So this is a corrective mechanism, CM. This is the corrective mechanism that you should talk about. The function of insulin is to stimulate the muscle cells to try to soak up or absorb the glucose. So because there's so much glucose in your blood now, okay, we will try to make your cells pick up more glucose so that they can be used up for respiration. And insulin will also stimulate the conversion of excess. Use this word excess. Don't just say glucose converted into glycogen. You have to use the word excess because you also need the glucose. It's just that the excess, the extra ones that you don't need will be converted. Okay, it'd be wrong to say just convert glucose into glycogen because you do need glucose to be used by your body cells. You are using the insulin to convert the extra ones. So the excess glucose is converted into glycogen to be stored into the liver, and also muscle cells. And also in the adipose cells, these are the cells, the fat tissues. Your insulin will also convert the excess glucose into fat to be stored. Okay, so when your blood sugar level decreases, okay, and before that, so when all this corrective mechanism happens, so your blood sugar level after that will go back to normal. Okay, now when your blood sugar level decreases, the alpha cells in the pancreatic Langerhans will be stimulated to secrete more glucagon. Okay, so I add in the word there, more glucagon into the blood. And the function of glucagon is to convert the glycogen back into glucose, because now you need the glucose where you don't have enough glucose in the blood now. And glucagon also promotes the breakdown of fat, so the fat will be broken down to release fatty acids that also can be used to produce energy. Okay, so now you got more sugar in your blood now, and then your respiration can occur, right? So now the glucose will come back to normal. Okay, you will go back to normal. So the last sentence you always write is, after all these corrective mechanisms, is you say the blood sugar level returns to normal. All right, okay. So regulation of blood sugar levels. Now, if at failure in the production, secretion, and intake of insulin. Any problem with the production, cannot produce insulin, cannot secrete insulin, or cannot use, okay, the cells or whatever cannot use the insulin, it can cause diabetes mellitus. When you write diabetes to mention penyakit kencing manis, you have to say diabetes mellitus. Because mellitus, it makes a difference. There are two types of diabetes, the name that you see here. Diabetes mellitus and diabetes insipidus. So diabetes mellitus is the one that refers to the penyakit kencing manis, where there is glucose present in the urine. Okay, so the blood sugar level of diabetic patients will be usually very high and unstable after a meal. So the patient also feels thirsty, tired, fatigued, and then some of them will also have weight loss, right? So how do you control that? Okay, so you control it by injecting themselves, all right, the diabetic patients, they have to inject themselves with insulin, okay, at regular intervals, usually every day, right? So they will inject it under the skin. Normally they use the tummy muscles, the tummy at the stomach there, not stomach, the abdomen, okay? That so sometimes they will take either the doctor will suggest whether it's injection or it is oral medication, okay, to control the amount. Okay, the third one, regulation of partial pressure of carbon dioxide. So your carbon dioxide can also increase, become higher in the blood, usually because of your activities. You are producing too much carbon dioxide because you have vigorous activity. Okay, respiration is at a high rate. Okay, maybe you're running a marathon, you're running a very rigorous exercise. So breathing is controlled by the respiratory control center in the medulla oblongata. Okay, so the medulla oblongata is this part here that you have learned in chapter 12, right? So the respiratory control center helps to maintain homeostasis by controlling the partial pressure of carbon dioxide in the blood. Okay, so let's look at how it works. All right, now, so during rigorous activity, for example, you're swimming, all right, there's Michael Phelps there, then or running, all right, and then you're playing very active sports like basketball, very high intensive, all right. Partial pressure of carbon dioxide will increase because you're producing a lot of carbon dioxide as a product of the respiration. So it will be dissolved in your blood because carbon dioxide, once it enters your blood, you get carbonic acid. Okay, the carbonic acid will break down. You learn that in chapter 8, hydrogen ion and also bicarbonate ion. Okay, so it's your hydrogen ion that causes the blood to be acidic. All right, so now you got to do something to release or to change or to bring back this condition. It's not getting acidic, your blood is getting more acidic. So you got to change it. Okay, so what happens is, where is this control center? Okay, first of all, the receptors. So the pH value of blood and tissue fluid that flood the brain, okay, will decrease. The pH now decreases because it's acidic. This is detected by central chemoreceptor in the medulla oblongata. So here is your medulla oblongata. You have a sensor there, which is your central chemoreceptor. There's another one. Besides the central chemoreceptor, all right, you also have a peripheral chemoreceptor, which is at a different place. The central is in the medulla oblongata, but the peripheral one is at two places. The first one is this carotid arteries. Carotid are the two major blood vessels that carry blood, oxygenated blood to your brain or to your head, right? So these two are the carotid bodies. There are carotid bodies in the carotid. And the other one is at the aorta. As you know, the aorta is very near your heart. Okay, so these two are the groups of chemoreceptors. One is at the aorta, one is at the carotid. These are called aortic bodies and carotid bodies. They will detect that your blood is too acidic. Okay, and then what happens? They will send a message to the control center. The control center is in the medulla oblongata also. That is the respiration regulatory center. Okay, so the messages must go to the headquarters. The headquarters is in the medulla oblongata. They call it the respiration control center and cardiovascular control center. So all these messages come here, and the medulla oblongata will now send messages to the relevant effectors to start the process of bringing down the acidic problem. All right. So what you're going to do is your medulla oblongata will send nerve impulses to these following effectors: diaphragm, intercostal muscles, and cardiac muscles. Okay, why? Diaphragm and intercostal muscles, they are related to your breathing process, your mechanism. So they will cause you to breathe faster. Your diaphragm will contract faster, okay, so that your intake of and exhalation and inhalation will be faster. Okay, they will contract and relax more quickly. Okay, more quickly. Yeah, you see the word more, it makes a difference. More quickly, so that you see you are going to expel more of this carbon dioxide out of your body. Okay, this causes the breathing rate, the heart rate, and the ventilation rate to increase. All right, and then so therefore more carbon dioxide gas is expelled from the lungs. So in that way, okay, your concentration of carbon dioxide in the blood will decrease. So it brings it back to normal lah. All right. Okay. Next, the partial pressure of carbon dioxide. Okay, return to normal. Right. So that's the last sentence you say. Always say when you talk about homeostasis, return to normal. Okay, we'll come back to normal. The range or the values will return to normal. Okay, next, blood pressure. Okay, let's say your blood pressure will change sometimes because due to emotion, somebody makes you very angry. All right, your blood pressure will rise. All right, okay, so or you watch a horror movie. All right, sometimes you get scared and all that. Your blood pressure will also suddenly changes. So what are the receptors? So different factor, you need different receptor. Just now you had thermoreceptor for heat. Just now you have chemoreceptor for chemical. Now you have pressure receptors called baroreceptors. Now where are they located? They are also located at the same place. You will see the same word, right? Aortic arc and also the carotid artery. So at the same place that we saw just now, where you have your chemoreceptors here at the carotid bodies, and you also have this at the aorta here. They're almost at the same place. Okay, the carotid artery is the artery in the neck that supplies blood to the head or to the brain, as I mentioned just now earlier. These receptors will detect the pressure. So the pressure is higher or lower, so these baroreceptors are able to detect. And then what happens after that? They will send the message to the control center. Again, this control center is in the medulla oblongata. It's the cardiovascular control center. Just now your respiratory control center is also there. Your cardiovascular is also there. Same place, medulla oblongata. So very easy to remember. Okay, almost the same. Right. Then next, so now the blood pressure when it increases. All right, when the blood pressure becomes more higher, somebody makes you very angry. So what happens? Your baroreceptors and the carotid artery are stimulated more. Okay, because your pressure increases, so it stimulates more of the baroreceptor, and your baroreceptors here will send impulse to the control center, which is the cardiovascular control center, is stimulated more. Okay, then it goes to the, now this is what happens. Your medulla oblongata will initiate these things to happen. Send messages to two things, right? Number one, vasodilation occurs. So your blood vessels will increase in diameter because you want to reduce the resistance. When you make your blood vessels become bigger, the blood will flow easier, the pressure will drop. Then the pressure drop is because there's a lot of resistance in your blood vessel. So now when it becomes bigger, blood flows smoother, faster, now the pressure will be lower. Another one is it sends signals to your cardiac muscle. Tell your heart not to beat so fast. Weaker contractions. So your heart, when it beats faster, it will increase the pressure. So it will slow down the contraction of your heart. So that will reduce the pressure of your blood. Okay? And that's, okay, like I said, blood pressure returns to normal. Last sentence there. So when the question asks you for blood pressure decreases, okay, too low, blood pressure too low, now your body will try to do something to bring up your blood pressure. Okay, so number one, all right, first of all, you say the detection first. Who detects there is too low pressure? Is the baroreceptor, all right? Baroreceptor in the aortic arch and also carotid artery, they are less stimulated. Okay, so now the cardiovascular center, the control system is less stimulated, and then this one will send messages to this effectors, which are the blood arteries. Your arteries will undergo vasoconstriction. So the smooth muscles will be triggered to contract. Right? This will increase the resistance of the flow of blood. So when the lumen is small, the pressure will increase. Okay? And also at the same time, the impulse will be brought to the cardiac muscles. Tell the heart to beat faster, right? Because now your pressure too low. Pressure too low because the heartbeat is too slow. So now you beat faster so that it increases the pressure of your blood. Okay, after that, then you say your blood pressure returns to normal. So you have to write this in your essay. Okay, otherwise there's no way you can get your marks. All right, okay. So as a summary, so you'll see when the blood pressure drops. All right, when the pressure is low, you want to increase the pressure. Increase the pressure by reducing the lumen size. So you squeeze, I can just imagine you want to water your garden, right? You want to water the plant that's very far away. You will squeeze the hose, isn't it? When you squeeze the hose, the water will shoot faster, shoot higher because of the pressure. You increase the pressure of the water, all right? So that it will shoot out, right? So that is the whole idea you want to remember, lah, right? When you want to have higher pressure, you got to make the lumen smaller, okay? That means your arteries must undergo vasoconstriction. And then when you want to reduce the blood pressure because it's already too high, you got to increase the diameter. That means it has to undergo vasodilation so that the blood will flow easier, less resistance, pressure will decrease. Okay, all right. So this is what I want to tell you about homeostasis. This is all you need to remember, right, for homeostasis. And remember, be prepared to write an essay. And this is all very simple to remember. So if you know your facts, you can get full marks for your homeostasis question. All right, okay. So thank you very much for joining my class today. All right, and I hope to see you in my next lesson. I will definitely finish the other part, which is your urinary system. Okay, hopefully by next week. And I'll see you again. All right. Okay, so thank you very much for watching and hope to see you again. All right, so keep doing questions. All right, see you. Bye bye. Just PM me if you have questions. All right, bye bye. See ya. Okay, thank you everyone. Bye bye.